Hi, in this video, I'm going to take you through another two Excel formulas. So these formulas are what would be considered basic formulas, but they are very powerful formulas. This is something that I would use on a regular basis. So you can see on the screen there, I've got a data set. Data set includes individuals, names, occupations, salary, experience, and where they live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this SumIf function, and I'll also use the CountIf function. And I'll use both of those functions to be able to extract information from that data set. So you can see quite a long data set here, and I'm going to use that information to create my formulas. So the first one, as I said, I'm going to use is the SumIf. So I'm going to go into this tab. Now I've already created it here. I was just doing a demo myself earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete both formulas and I'm going to do them from scratch. So the first one is going to be the SumIf. So if I go equals sum, and again, you'll notice as soon as I put an equals in and start to type, Excel recognizes that I'm putting a formula in and it's going to prompt me. You can see here there's a list of the various different formulas that I have. So SumIf is coming up. I'm going to select that. And now once I've selected SumIf using the predictive text, you can see that Excel is guiding me. So the first thing it's saying is, what's your range? So what are you looking up? So what I'll do is I'll go back to the data. I'm going to select all the occupation. So to do that, quite an easy way to do that is just select the column, and that will make sure that you've got everything selected. And I'd also like to look at the salary. So my range is going to be occupation and salary. So I've highlighted both of those and you can see data C to D. That gives everything in that range. Go back to my formula. So actually I need to just put a comma in here before I move away from the data. And then it wants to know what's the criteria. So what are you going to look up, or what do you want to return a value based on? So I'm going to select doctor. I'm going to put another comma in, and now Excel is saying, what do you want to sum? What's your range? So again, go back to my data. I select salary, and now I'm going to just close out that bracket. So you can see there that the total salaries for doctors coming through is over 800,000. So what I always do when I'm working with Excel, I do like to check my formulas. The formulas are very helpful because they're pulling the data for me, but it's always worth sense checking. So if I just go back into the data, filter on doctor, just drag my mouse over the salaries. You can see in the bottom corner here, I've got a sum. So the sum is 804. That's the value I've got here, 804. So I can see that that's correct. The other thing I can see is we've got 5 doctors in our data set. That's a count of 5. I'm just flagging that because the next formula that we're going to do, that becomes relevant. Okay, so that's the total salary of doctors. Now, the nice thing about the SumIf, so you're probably thinking that's quite a bit of work to get something that isn't that useful, but this is where it comes in quite useful. So you can see here that I've created a drop-down list. Now, I'll create another video to explain how you create that drop-down list, but what I've done is I've got my list here, and if I select a nurse, automatically updates. So that's the benefit of this formula. Select farmer, updates, officer, it updates. So it's dynamic and it's pulling through the information. So that's the nice thing about it. So that's the SumIf formula. The other one I'm going to show, because it goes hand in hand with this, is the CountIf. So again, type my equal sign, start to type my formula. Same thing as before, Excel is recognizing this is a formula. It's given the option to CountIf. I'm going to go for that. Now this is a bit simpler of a formula because really all we're doing is we're just counting data. So it looks for less parameters than the previous formula. So all it wants to know is what range do you want to count? So again, it's going to be occupation. I'll put my comma in, go back to SumIf, and select doctors, which is my criteria. So I'll close that bracket again. return, and now we're getting a count of 5. And as I just demonstrated, when I looked in the data, when I filtered by doctor, we had 5 doctors. And again, this is dynamic. So if I go to nurses, that value updates, the number of people updates. Go to plumbers, that value updates, and the number of people. So it's a really helpful formula, and it's also a helpful formula if you want to share information with someone. So say, for example, you had a data set, you didn't want to share that data set, but you wanted people to be able to interrogate or to be able to come up with some information based on that data set. What you could do is you could create a spreadsheet. You could hide this tab, hide that tab, and just make this available to people. And what they could do is if you just send them this file, they can work with it themselves. They can filter it as they need. Now, obviously, you would need to protect this workbook. So you wouldn't just hide it. You'd have to hide it and then put a password on it. That's on the assumption that the data that you're sharing is sensitive. So hopefully that's helpful. That's 2 formulas, 2 basic formulas, but 2 formulas that are very powerful and something that I use on a regular basis. Hope that's helpful. If you like the video, like it, subscribe, and there'll be more content coming. Thank you very much.